Photojournalism category. We have three amazing judges here that are going to give comments on these top 25. We have Wendy Clark, Peter Eastway and Chris Dark. I'm Michelle Fay and welcome. A special thanks goes to Photo Warehouse who sponsored the 2024 New Zealand Amateur Photography Award. Thank you so much, because without them we wouldn't be here. The description is, the photojournalism category is intended for images that use the medium of photography to tell an authentic visual representation of a story, whether it be political, sports, birth, travel, events, street, personality or documentary photography that gives an insight to contemporary issues and news. Images should be thought-provoking that represent real life, people, places, and other non-fiction stories. Only basic post-production adjustments are accepted in this category, such as tonal control, black and white conversion, sharpening, and cropping. The final image must remain an authentic representation of what was captured on the sensor. Post-production adjustments must not hide or introduce key elements into the image. So we're going to go same as the last time, the top 25, and then when it comes to the top 10, they are in a random order. No score will be read, no placing will be known. This will happen at 5 o'clock this evening. And here we go to the first image. Mouse, there. This image is the 25th image. It's scored 77 and it's highly commended.
And I'm kicking off the proceedings. Love the capture of the photographer in the mirror, I guess. Look, maybe you're on a photo tour, maybe that was intentional, maybe it was just happenstance. What, to me, makes the photo the two main protagonists, the subjects there. The expressions, what they're looking at doesn't matter, the dress, the attire. I think the photograph has been really, really well seen. However, I'm just looking at the tonality of the photograph, and those walls are just so bright that it's hard for me to get into the photograph. Now, can you change that? It's a challenge because you want to keep the subject's light and you want to darken down the background a little bit. Well, I would want to darken down the background a little bit. Maybe a little less contrast, a little bit of softness, darkening down and then bringing up. So tonal control, I think, is the key. But great subject, well seen. And I'm still not quite too sure whether you intended the photographer or the person with a baseball cap in the background, but well done anyway. The mother material up above looking down on him is thinking it's a good thing.
Thank you very much.
I'll just say something there too, sorry. I didn't even notice that person in the person's reflection in the mirror there, so there you go. I learned something there. I was just more fixated on the faces and the story with the couple there, and I wondered what they were looking at. So yeah, I thought it's a quite good narrative there. It got me thinking, and I was looking at his leg as well and wondering, what's is that gout or something? I'm not sure, but yeah, I was just thinking of the story behind those two main characters there.
I think that might be elephantitis.
Yeah.
The guy in the mirror, he's got his camera turned, so he's trying to do a candid shot, so he's carefully lined that up so that he's in the mirror, and that you can capture everybody that's in there. But there is a beautiful triangular composition to this, and I also want to know what is happening at the other side. I mean, the guy at the front looks pretty miserable, so there's probably something quite interesting happening on the left side. I think it's a really cool image.
Thank you very much.
Wendy, can I just get you to be closer to your microphone?
Certainly. This image was 24th. It scored 77 and it was highly commended.
This is a lovely, joyful image. It's that moment that takes us all back to playing out on the beach when towards the end of the day. It's lovely, sort of warm colours. What's great about this is the goalposts, which look just like the sails in the background. So there's that echoing all around. There's that moment where all the kids are going straight for the ball. You just wonder if those two heads are going to collide. And there's heaps of things going on in the background. There's the sailboats, there's kayaks, there's people swimming, there's people playing in the front, the fast shutter speeds captured all those bits of sand flying all over the place. So I think it's a lovely, joyful, happy image.
I just wondered, like obviously it's frozen the moment. I just wonder if a bit of movement, bit more of a creative aspect with the technical aspect of the shot may have made it a bit more dynamic and interesting. Yeah, a bit of a slower shutter speed.
Thank you. This image was 23rd. It got 77 and highly commended. And just remember that we need to really lean forward to talk to our mics so everyone at home can hear us.
It's my go. It's just a wonderful moment again. Two kids. I think it tells a great story of trail cross riding, I guess, and all the gear that they've got on. Obviously, I'm not quite sure of the interaction between the two. The one on my left seems to be looking away from the other person. I'm not quite sure, but it's a great moment, and I love the colours. I can just obviously a proud dad, parent, or somebody who it was taking the image. I like the helmets seem to the blurred background is quite well. It separates the two main subjects, and the placement of those blurred helmets in the background sit well as well. So it's quite a well balanced image. It's just fantastic.
Beautifully balanced, isn't it? It's both sides are pretty much echoed, and the two riders on the other side are also looking inwards. So everything's coming towards those two people two kids having their little intimate tete-a-tete in the middle of busyness and craziness, and they've got that sort of connection which you just feel, which is great.
Awesome, thank you. And this image was 22nd. It scored 77 and is highly commended.
I think it's a great example of documentary photography in terms of capturing the moment. Cartier-Bresson talked about the decisive moment, and I'm not quite sure whether it's the decisive moment because that requires more than just the great moment, but it requires all of the other elements to come together. And when I look at the other elements in the scene, we've got some interesting people. We've got some masks on the guy on the left who was quite interesting. Maybe it was in COVID times. But look at the background, beautifully focused, beautifully out of focus, but very, very bright. And so the background is taking, my attention away. And yes, we need to have the background for context, but I feel that tonally it's just too strong, and so I would be darkening down in a subtle way. It doesn't have to be obvious. It still should look natural. For the moment is fantastic. The desaturation, I guess we're going to let you get away with that because it's quite okay to desaturate by 100%, but you can't really desaturate by 80% because that's not allowed. But anyway, I'm just joking there a little bit. That's a little throwaway line. Well seen, beautifully captured.
I think this is the parliamentary sit-in, and this is post pepper spray. Everybody's there with their masks on, and somebody's just thrown milk over them, I'm assuming. So you got that real feel of the agony of the pepper, but yet the milk that's calming things down. So I also feel that you're very close to the person with the focal length here, so you really feel you're part of this protest, and the moment when he's just been post pepper spray, I reckon. Very cool.
You've obviously been more militant than me in my lifetime.
Thank you very much. This one is the 21st. It got 77 and highly commended.
This is a lovely little pastel picture. It's also even the top sort of fits into what's happening in the background, and it's obviously something that wall that people keep adding to. The square crop is quite interesting, so it keeps it in that kind of artistic feel. Lots of words going on. One that did catch my eye was anonymous operations, which I understand are a group who are trying to raise awareness of things that are going wrong. So I'm not 100% sure what the story is, but there's lots of places in there. There's lots of love. It's warm colours. So it's a gentle piece.
And I like that he's using crayons as well, so it sort of wash off the wall. It's not
Yeah.
not an illegal practice. But yeah, no, I love the colours in this as well. It's beautiful. So I'd like. I guess it's quite. There's a lot of words that are overlapping one another there. So I guess if it was trying to tell me a story, I'd like a little bit more to reveal from what's on the wall and what he's doing, the message.
And I wonder whether he just, I mean, we're looking at it on a television monitor, so I don't necessarily know, but I find that there's not much separation between the head, the hand and the background, and so maybe just darkening that image down a little bit in that area or in areas around the hand and the head will give you that separation so that you are communicating more strongly what it is that's actually happening there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, team.
Sorry, I just noticed that, that there's up the top there, that the love wins. So I guess that's a message there. Maybe, yep.
This image was 20th. It scored 77 and it's highly commended.
I'll talk to. It's a great image. I've been to parts of the world where I've seen this. I guess the water well and the use of animals as workhorses. I mean, it was quite. I remember travelling through these countries that do this, and I had to separate myself from animals as pets and their tools of trade. I think that's the message that I got out of this one. So the boy in the front as well, he's got his face. He's got mud on his face. It looks like it's intentionally put there. I'm not quite sure. Doesn't give me a good. I guess it's not immediately. I guess the traditional sense. I'm not quite sure where he's from. So I guess maybe I don't know if the other judges have got anything else to add to that. But I just wonder where it is in the world. I guess.
My observation would be that, are you entering this to win a photo competition or is it a photograph for yourself personally? Because if it's personal, then no trouble with what you've done. It's great, it's well done. In a competition, I wonder whether black and white would be stronger, because when we get to this document, you're basically presenting to us something that is out of our comfort zone, and yet you're doing it in full colour, which means that it is a sense of reality. But I wonder whether what you're really harking back to is an old way of living, because certainly most places in the world do have an electrical generator, and these are fewer and further apart. And so going to black and white divorces us a little bit. I'd also wonder whether a little bit of space for the cow up on the left. You see how you got the space on the right of the young boy, which is great, and then over on the left it's really cramped, and I just feel that that would perhaps better communicate the story with just a little bit more space over there on the left.
Yeah, it's good points.
Awesome. Thank you. This image was 19th. It scored 77 and was highly commended.
Was that me?
Well, I'll talk. Yeah, that's all right. It's a great moment. Captured a great moment. I think the colour. You got the warm. The blues and the clear sky give me a clear. Like I'm from Perth, so it sends me back to Perth. The colours of the boat and the action of of all the occupants in the boat with the oars and stuff, you could just get a really good sense of just how scary, I guess, it would be in that powerful surf. It looks like a pretty decent swell coming in. So really good capture.
If I could just add, being an ex-publisher of a surfing magazine, look at all the whites in the water there. They're just completely blown out. And I think that if you go back to your raw file, process the file out so that you've got detail in the water. You see, because there's a lot of drama in that breaking wave, and then lighten up the boat. I think because the action, the timing is fantastic. Look at, all of the positions of the oarsmen and oarswomen there, I guess. I don't know, hard to tell at this stage. But I just think that it's all there. You just need to look at your exposure, and this can certainly get another 5 or 6 points and easily get you up into the silver range.
Yeah, it's a good point with the contrast. I think there's some shadow areas there, and just a simple, taking those darker tones down a little bit will help in that drama as well as those the whites in the that Pete mentioned, the blown out parts. So I think it's a really good.
Thank you. This image was 18th.
We're back to that other one,
no,
aren't we?
No, this is the 18th.
No, I mean we're back to the same
Yeah.
story.
And it was
of the
highly
other one.
commended, but
yeah.
there's actually no score on this one, unfortunately. So comment away, but highly commended, so it would be around that high 70s.
It's the moment before, isn't it? It's the moment when they're getting ready, and you get a feel that people. There's all the masks there. And particularly if you look at that person on the bottom left, there's that determination. It's almost like they're going into battle. They're dressed for it. It's like the fatigue and that washed out colour, which actually ends up because there's still some colour. It brings your attention to these blue glasses at the bottom right, which is just a little bit disconcerting. Plus the orange glass at the other side. But what is working here is, again, you get the feel that you're in with them, that you're very close to the action, and it's almost, I get the feeling that the main protagonist in the centre is saying, "Okay, are you with us? Come on then, we're ready. We're ready for it." You've got another person in the back who's back right-hand side who's looking straight at the camera. The other thing that really pulls this group together are the hands on the shoulder. This is a group who are together. This is a group who are going to go into battle together, and they're determined. And that's come across. The shallow depth of field also brings you to that guy at the front who's got straight connection with you. Probably, I would just take this straight off to black and white as well. I do find these colours on each side a little bit distracting.
I'd crop off the guy on the right with the orange. I think when you come into the bottom left-hand square, it's just so strong. You've got that guy behind the main guy and that look of anger on his face. And then you also just have that hand coming on the shoulder. So we've still got that hand that's so important, and it shows the camaraderie, etc. And then just darken down those goggles because it's just so bright on the main guy. It's just an exposure thing. And you're allowed to do that in photojournalism. Cartier-Bresson, I'll go back to him. He loved to dodge and burn.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
the guy on the right-hand side, that's the first thing I saw was that colour, that bronzy colour through the goggles there. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, team. This image was 17th. It scored 78 and was highly commended.
It's a very joyful image, isn't it? Yeah. It just makes you want to smile. The guy in the front is just like I kind of want to go and hug him because he's so happy. And of course you've got that bit of humour in there with the mobile zone in the background, and the main protagonist is talking on the phone. The colours as well, so there's cool colours around apart from the name of the shop in the background, and then they're warmer colours which brings you to the main characters. On this TV it looks a bit bright, but when I've seen it before it hasn't been quite as bright, so I think that's better when it's a little bit darker. The cooler colours on the outside of the van and then the background and then the whites are also serving to bring your attention to this main character in the front. And then just to bring you back in, you've got a guy at the far left who's looking straight at the camera, the only one who's looking straight at the camera. And then you've got a little bit of tension with the ones on the right side who are looking out of the camera, and you're interested to know what's going on there. So I think it's quite a nice, neat, tight composition. Partly I want to see a little bit more on the right, but again, the tension I think is quite cool as well, so I'm not going to be anti it. But I love this, it makes me want to smile.
Yeah, it's there's a couple of stories going on there with the guy in the front on the phone and the guys at the right-hand side looking at something there. So, yeah, I agree. A little bit more of that story would be nice. But for me, this image took me straight to times travelling through this part of the world and I guess the happy nature of I guess they're all Hindus and the cause and effect. They don't worry about too much, and they just take it day by day, and they're all sort of present in the moment, and they're generally quite jolly, happy people. So that's what it took. That was the story that I was getting from it. So yeah, it is. It's a happy image. It's great.
Thank you very much. This image got 16th. It was 78.2 and highly commended.
I guess when we have 4 pictures telling the story, do we need 4, or is it better just to have 1? And I look at this and I see 4 quite different images. I can tell that it's all obviously the same event, the same location, but I don't know whether the 4 are better than any of the individual ones. So if I gravitate to the smiley one up in the top right. It's funny, I wrote a little blog post recently about saying, why do we shy away from photos of people smiling? And yet I think you've done a fantastic job there, so I have to go and change that blog post now because I can see how to do it properly. But you know, the images are all highly lit, and I guess I'm struggling to see I'm struggling to understand the storyline from one to the other. Maybe by having them in a square frame like that, where we've got a grid, that's part of the challenge, whereas if you put them left to right, you might be telling me a story. But I'm struggling a little bit. I think I would be picking one photo rather than going for a series, and I know I'm going to get into trouble for that, but apologies.
Yeah, I think it's a story about people, isn't it, more than the cooking? It's about group together. Maybe it's a charity event that everybody's together. I did feel as well that there was quite a lot of similarity and perhaps a total change of viewpoint, perhaps shooting down on the finished food, or a little bit more variety in where you're shooting from would actually enhance this as a group if they're going to be all together. It made me laugh that the male comes in at the very last minute with his, woohoo, I've got a bowl to tip in and do my little bit. Up till then, it's been a group of women who are just working hard and happy, they're enjoying it. But yeah, probably a bit more variety in viewpoint would have brought this up a bit more.
Awesome, thank you. This image was 15th. It scored 78 and highly commended.
Yeah, a great capture of a moment in a sporting game, a soccer game. I just wonder as well whether a bit of a different choice of shutter speed may have given us a bit more, made it a bit more dynamic and a bit of movement as well. But I love the expression on the faces. They're obviously fighting hard for the ball. So in that sense, it's a really good story, or I guess telling the story of the intensity in a soccer match. So, but I think adding a little bit more dynamic, a bit more movement would have made that even more so.
Yeah, I was just going to add, if you were putting this photograph into a newspaper on a website, etc., you can see I'm talking about newspaper, how old I am, can't you? One of those things we used to read. If you're doing it to tell people about an event, then the way you framed it is great. But I wonder whether you just throw all of that out. If you're putting it into a photo competition, what if you were to crop everything, just come in tight? Because what the photograph is all about is those 2 expressions and the ball. And if you basically threw away 70% of the picture and just cropped in really, really tightly, do you have as strong an image and one that might do better in a photo competition? Remembering that, we're here at the particular venue looking at it for a particular purpose, and we're photographers trying to find things to point fault at so that we can give you some feedback. But, that might not be your intention, but if it is, if you just want to win a photo competition, maybe you've got to look at it from a bunch of old fuddy-duddy judges who think they know everything and give them what they want, and that might be just that expression.
Awesome, thank you very much. This image was 14th. It scored 78 and is highly commended.
This is just a moment, isn't it? I mean, how do you get that ridiculous stretch? That's pretty bonkers. There's a lot of energy in the image. The tennis players really putting their all into it. It reminds me a bit of the Nike Air advert. I don't know if you know the one where he's got Jordan's jumping up stretch to the basketball and putting his legs stretched out, and this is the same kind of feel to it. It's really stretched out, and what's quite interesting with this one, it's got a real kind of graphic feel with lots of blocks to it. So the tennis players in the main court, she's been framed there. Then the racket and the ball is framed by the doubles court at the edges at the side. And then the whole thing's got the plain sort of blue background. I think it's well caught. Obviously, if you're going to be 100%, then perhaps if she just raised her tennis racket just a tiny bit higher, it would have been exactly in that one. But this is a bit of the moment, and it's a very fast shutter speed. There's just a tiny bit of blur at the edges, and apart from the ball, and it's well captured. Maybe there's a bit too much space at the bottom, but otherwise, I like this.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like I'm used to watching tennis on a TV, and the players. It gives me a good sense of the size of the court. I think that was my first impression. But as a I guess a documentary piece, it's just it really allows, when you look at it, it gives you a good sense of the athleticism of a tennis player. Yeah. To contort myself into that position at my age would be pretty hard to do. So, yeah, I think it's a great, as a documentary piece and a sporting picture. It's fantastic. It really gives that sense of what a tennis player, how hard it is.
Can I just add as well, like the angles on her arms and legs kind of echo the lines, the white lines as well, and I think that gives an extra edge to it.
And my only suggestion was maybe you rotate the image a little bit to the left, just change it so that she's sort of pushing that ball down rather than straight along, and that just might add a little bit more movement and drama to it.
Awesome, thank you. This image was 13th. It scored 78 and highly commended.
So compositionally, I think it works really, really well. And I like the fact that we've got the girls going in opposite directions. I like where all the birds are. There's a sort of a cacophony of positioning, which I think works really, really well. I'm not 100% sure on the monitor I'm looking at. There's a little bit of flatness and muddiness in the image. Now, if it was intentional, then it's worked well. But for me, it just, there's a little bit, it takes the life out of the image a little bit. I mean, the expression and the fun and the posing that the kids are having, I can imagine that exactly. But, I'm just standing up because when we're looking at things on the television, as I move up and down, the image and the coloration changes a little bit, which is not ideal. So apologies if you have got the tonality exactly right. If you haven't, maybe, sometimes in Photoshop, I just do the auto levels, and sometimes it just stretches the tones out, and that might be all that's required just to lift this up a few more points.
I think that the palette in here is it's reminiscent of older days gone by. It's got a real kind of timeless feel to it, this image. It could be our kids, it could be us running on the beach, and that kind of warm, gentle pastel tones actually really add to that timelessness, that sense of this could be any time, and really a sense of childhood passing and mixing with those wonderful days when you're on the beach and the little dog running straight towards them as well. I love that, just that tiny little bit at the corner that brings our attention right back towards the centre. It's got a beautiful, almost a diamond-shaped composition that's going to it. So we're done.
Awesome, thank you. This image was 12th. It scored 78 and highly commended.
It's similar to the last tennis shot. It's a great moment of a match, and it shows the athleticism as well. I quite like the tight crop, and yeah, it's just it's a great capture of a moment. And the facial expression is wonderful as well. She's really stretching to the limits, physically. You can tell from the look on her face. So it's a great piece or photograph for tennis.
Thank you very much. This image was 11th. It scored 79 and highly commended.
Look at the energy here, sort of shooting into the light. So you've got this sort of silhouette feel. I love the sculptural feel of the wave coming up, because you've got the light coming through it, so that really gives a sense of a captured moment. What really, of course, makes this stand out is the fact that the little bird at the front is it's kind of echoing the same shape with the hands in the background. So you've got this continuity, this man and fowl, man and bird sort of all enjoying that one area together. I like the fact that we've got a hint of a place in the background. So you've got a hint of both buildings and hills. That really gives you a sense of where it's there. I wish that MGWM boy or whatever wasn't there, but I guess that's giving a sense of place. Perhaps it's also very dominating being red. And perhaps it might have been less dominating, it was black and white perhaps. The silhouette, the guy's also wearing a kind of red, so I suppose they match, and perhaps it's very important to the story. It's a tale of two halves. The right side is all of the action, and the left side is empty, and perhaps, I think that it may be stronger if this was a square crop, really bringing us into where all this action is going on. Love the drama in the waves. Well done.
Just growing up being a surfer myself, it's the bird. I just wonder whether that's needed. I guess for a documentary piece, you're shooting for an event. So I went to his rash shirt there and tried to read what event it was. So I don't mind. The purpose is shooting for an event, so I don't mind those elements of it. It's the bird that bothers me, because
like
it's all
the bird.
about the surfer, as a documentary piece, and I like the crop in that I can see the rest of the wave. It's not great conditions for a surfing contest, but I can tell that surfer is pretty good doing what he's doing on that wave. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but I think now that we've sort of broached it, there's too much going on in the photograph. I mean, I know it's documentary, and I know it's great having the bird there. It tells a fantastic story. Now let's move over to a photography competition. And simply the red boy in the background just buggers things up. The bird is in the wrong position, and yet, I mean, it's a great documentary moment captured, but unfortunately in the context of a photography competition,
true.
It's just too much going on. So, thanks for letting us have a look, and kill me later.
Fantastic, thank you. Ooh. Right, we're now up to the top 10. Remember, these are in no particular order, and the top 3 will be announced at 5 o'clock tonight. So let's get into it. Thanks, Photo Warehouse, again. This is one of the top 10.
Well, you can't fault the timing, can you? It's interesting. It's got this HDR look, and I remember years ago. I am not a fan of HDR, but I have on past occasions given first place to photographs with HDR because it's done really well. And I think this is a great example of where that use of, whether it's HDR or just using highlight shadow, I'm not worried. I'm just talking about the great tonal range, and I think it just works. Everybody looking up, you've got that beautiful grass in the middle, which is bright. It takes the eye into the yellows there. Obviously the silhouette of the plane up above, an air show, I'm imagining, and I just think it works, and I think it's extremely well seen, and no suggestions. I think it works as it is.
That plane in front of the sun, I almost feel it's going down, 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 down. It's the great big moment where the plane comes in. It's a hero shot. It really brings your attention to it, and everybody's looking up with their phones or their tablets, or shielding their eyes. So there's 100% attention to this hero in the centre of the sky. Awesome.
Yep.
Congratulations for making the top 10. And the next image.
Oh, I want to talk to this one. I like the wide crop. Really gives a sense of place. It's the emptiness that I like with this one. Now, I looked at this, the Anaheim Resort, which apparently is just across from Disneyland. And this is what I think gives it more pathos. You've got this moment with the resort. So you think of resort somewhere special, and especially if it's across from Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. And it's got one element which is lit in the centre, right in the centre. It's a very central composition. And it's someone sleeping there. You know, this is the happiest place on earth. There's someone sleeping here. And this is the bit that's been highlighted. It's almost like an exhibit. And it's not a good exhibit. There's central compositions that brings you in there. There's the rubbish bins on each side. But you've got two people on the left side who are on their phones. There's nobody paying any attention to this person in the centre. The slow shutter has given you the indication that there's cars or trucks or bikes going past. Again, nobody's stopping. There is some life around here, even though it's dark, it's night, your attention's in the centre, but nobody cares. There's someone in the centre. They are lit. Everybody should be looking, but nobody cares. This is there's a lot of pathos, I think, in this.
I think it's brilliantly captured and well seen. It's a great example of documentary work. Looking at it on the screen at the moment, I just feel that the subject itself, himself, herself, theirself, is a little bit too light. And maybe when we look at the wall, when we look at the wall behind, there's plenty of detail. And so maybe just making that wall a fraction darker and then bringing the subject down a fraction, it's only a hair's breadth, and your file might be perfect, and it's just the monitor I'm looking at.
It's bright on here too, to be fair. Thank you very much. And here is the next image in our top 10.
Yeah, what an action! But yeah, it's I like this as a moment. It's I can't. I guess some of the whites are quite pushed to the limits there. So maybe there's something you can do there. Maybe a little bit more focus on his face and his expression. Other than that, I like the square crop. It's just it's a great image.
It's a real wow moment, isn't it? It's like, wow, there's nothing, nowhere else you can go. He's going down, he's going in that water, and that very, very tight crop there's not lost anything the side. I mean, maybe moved a wee bit over towards the left, but otherwise you get that real sense of this is where you're going, and the movement all around, the splashes everywhere. It's got a lot of energy.
Thank you. And the next top 10 finalist.
Yeah, again, what a moment, and I guess I like that the crop in that he's just got the two kids and the young, the rugby ball tells a story as well. It might be having a bit of play around with a bit of a tackle or a ruck or something. But the girl, it's just a really good. Gives me a really good sense of the playful nature of kids and the unlimited sort of minds that they have. She's upside down and she's as happy as she wouldn't be anywhere else. She's in her dad's arms by the looks of it as well. So this is a great picture.
It's great fun, isn't it? It's loads of energy. I'm drawn a little bit to the bottom left, and I just wonder if even pulling that in a little bit so you don't get the green, it actually brings your attention much more back into the two girls who are the key elements in there. Also, the dog in the back is slightly distracting, although having said that, I like the fact that the fur sort of echoes all her craziness hair. And I just love that cute little clip that's in her hair that's all part of everything's falling apart. That tiny little bit of red that's in there. But it's energy, it's fun. Everybody's really enjoying themselves and everybody's focused. And she's not letting go of that ball.
Anything else? Great, thank you. And the next one in our top 10, here we go.
You me? Okay. This one of a great image in, well, okay, how do I respond? There's no centre of interest, and that's its strength. The fact is that you get into these places, they are so busy, every square inch is used and utilised. It's interesting, I don't know whether the person down the bottom is a police officer or whether she's just doing the laundry, etc., because she's got that badge on her shoulder, etc. It doesn't matter. yeah, as you look around, there are all these stories of life. Then there's the mountain range in the distance, the open spaces. I think this is really well seen. I like the use of the tonality there. Again, I've talked about a few other images where I've said, you know, you're not directing my eye anywhere in particular, and I think that's intentional here. The fact that my eye continues to wander around, I think it's a great piece of documentary photography.
Yeah, and I think going in black and white was perfect here as well, because again, you're not focused on one area. It's great going around and seeing, everybody's got their washing out on this day, and then there's a combined, it looks like a central place in the bottom where people perhaps together communally do some washing and things. But you know, the fact is that there's attempts for people here to make the place beautiful. It looks like it's run down, but there's lots of plants, there's patterns, there's life. There's lots of stuff to just sit and watch and look. I could sit and look at this for ages.
It looks a little bit like the view out of my hotel room here in Christchurch, you know.
Yeah,
How'd you take that?
it's a great, it's a community, and you get that story from this image. It's a real like community within a quite densely populated city. So yeah.
You'll get shipped out with comments like that.
No, yeah. Well, we do have some interesting views, I will say, but not quite as interesting as this. No.
And the next image in our top 10.
Oh, I love this one. It's like a Neil. It's difficult to even say it's in documentary because it's got an real art feel to it, and that sort of very bluey black really pulls you in. There's limited tones in between. It's very contrasty. And it's also a tale of two halves. You've got this very strong diagonal that's splitting the two elements together. These trees, which they're all leaning out towards this lone character who's just walking along the line. He's got somewhere to go, but these sort of almost magical trees are reaching out to kind of grab him. And I go with this whole magical thing, the darkness on the other side with the water and the ice. It feels foreboding. Everything feels foreboding, but in a beautiful way. And the fact that there's not detail for me in the whites here isn't bothering me. I think it's more, it gives a feel of cyanotype almost. It's got that kind of real art, strong, magical feel. It could be going into the land of Narnia or something, and I love it.
Yeah. I don't know what room you've got, Pete, but this is the sort of view I get out of my room here in Christchurch. So no, this is everything that was that's just been said is fantastic. I love the texture and the contrast of those trees. But as soon as it popped up, the man walking or woman walking was the first thing that I saw, and I just got a feel of, I went straight to that environment. So yeah, it's a great piece, great picture.
Reminds me of the work of Steve Scalone, who did a series of images in Chicago probably 10 years or so ago, and it's very strong. I just asked the photographer to ask him or herself whether cropping in tightly, I don't know whether the trees on the left are necessary, and whether you can still keep that diagonal with just the trees and simplify it down even further.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And here is the next photo of our top 10.
Again, it's a great moment in a surf boat race. So I like the it's neck and neck, I guess, and who's going to get the wave. I think it tells a great story. So I love the colours, love the. It's just really well balanced. I like the landscape type crop as well. So if they could offer any suggestions, I think it's just a great documentary piece in terms of entering into a competition. Maybe a little bit more contrast, a little bit more focus on the main story, or on the red and pink boat. Maybe that I don't know if the other judges can suggest anything else.
I think this is a moment of like, whoa. It's almost like the three boats are coming together at the prow, and you've got one person in the middle in the pink who's literally just, she's abandoned all hope. She's got, and dropped the oar. So, there's a moment of panic. You've got the greens in the background who are, they're getting it, they're just about controlling it, but it is a dodgy moment and they could all meet together. As I say, the ones in the pink are a bit more aware that this is not going to end well. And I like the fact that the waves are all coming from the left, but they're coming together again into this tight corner on the bottom right, which brings our attention. It compresses them all. It compresses the fronts into that sort of point, the point of no return, the point where maybe they're all going to collide and maybe it's not all going to end as well as they kind of hoped. So I think that the pinks in the front against the greens in the back, it does help them to come out, and there's a lot of energy.
So maybe the way to do that, again, for a newspaper or a website, what we've got is perfect. For a photo competition, talking about the girl that I didn't see before losing the oar, and the girl in front of her is probably not going to be too happy if it whacks her in the back, but why not crop in much, much closer? And then you've got that foreground, which is warm, and then you've got the cooler colours in the background. And if it's for a photo competition, just go for a very tight crop.
Yeah, no, it's good. I didn't notice that girl in the centre either, so I think that's the story. Yeah.
Lots of great learnings and information there. And here is the next one of our top 10.
What a day to play rugby, eh? Like, I really like this. The effect that the rains had, and the wet jumpers and the muddiness and the moment of the line out, and the guy in the green and white striped jumper there, he's lifting up his mate to get the ball. That's what a moment.
Chris, I think we're showing our Australianism. I think that's snow, mate.
Is it?
I don't know.
Well, maybe.
We need to ask a real New Zealander to find out. What do you reckon, Wendy?
I think it's rain, actually.
It is rain. It's rain. There's no snow on the ground.
I was just getting excited then.
You are getting excited. Isn't this just glorious? Mud, glorious mud. When I first looked at that, I thought it's a bit mixed up with all the people who are in the background, giving you that feel that, those supporters standing by the guys coming out for the weekend just to play rugby. But then I like this feel where you've got these two rugby players being lifted up out of the mass of rugby players and supporters to concentrate on that one pinnacle. It's a pinnacle at the top of the triangle. The ball is just suspended there. And they're actually, the trees are kind of echoing that shape as well and framing them quite nicely. I think what the rain does, it gives it a very painterly feel, which is slightly at odds with the subject, but I like it. So you got that sort of painterly expression of that moment of like, da-da-da, here we are going up, and the ball is suspended and we're all going to reach that pinnacle. So yeah, awesome.
This is how Surat would have painted rugby, isn't that right?
Pointillism, yes.
Yeah, I don't like all the rain. I think there's a lot of detail through it, but I think it's quite the players, which is what the story's about, really stand out. And it's at the timing of the ball right in the centre there is quite effective as well. So I like it. It's good.
Fantastic, thank you. And here is another one of our top 10.
There's a fair bit happening in this one too, isn't there? So I know that in Australia we get quite a lot of bushfires as well that have some some quite. I think maybe. I don't know with the documentary category what you can do with colour and that, but there's it looks quite calm. I guess the story I'm looking for is can the other judges? Maybe I'm not
looking
need
for a bit more drama.
Need a bit more time to drama
in
him,
the
not
smoke, and that
Yeah.
maybe a bit more contrast.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting here where the colour, you've got that beautiful blue sky, which is basically saying this is a wonderful sunny
Yeah,
day,
it's-
and yet you've got the aftermath of what looks like a fire has gone through there. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got the. I really like the composition with the use of the ladder and the fireman or woman down on the left. And then the helicopter. But it's confrontational in many ways because the elements are so pushed to the edges of the frame.
Yeah.
And when you go to the middle of the frame, there's really nothing there. But then on the other hand, there's an awful lot of smoke, which is what it's a fire, which is what it's about.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting and challenging composition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
think-
they're protecting that house, aren't they? So
That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's just that the tip, just the roof of the house. It's really giving that sense of danger. It almost looks like the main things, the helicopter, which may have been better, slightly slower shutter speed, so you get a wee bit of movement in the blades. But having said that, you get that wonderful capture with the hose on the far left. But it is that moment of danger that, is the fire going to get there? There is a tiny bit of, you can see some flames just above the fireman on the ladder. So it's not gone out, and there's some flames somewhere in the centre as well. So there's still lots of possibility that could come to this house. So something that looks kind of quiet has got an underlying current of danger, which I think that we need to be aware of.
Maybe just cropping a fraction more off the bottom, just so that you don't have
Even
that
more
little
so?
triangle of white down the bottom right hand, just to lift it up, and because my eye just keeps getting dragged there. I'd also think of cropping that right off, but then you don't have the balance of where the helicopter is unless you crop the left off, and then you lose the fire, the hose and everything. And so maybe the photographer's got the right crop after all, and I'll shut up.
All right, and the last one of our top 10 of photojournalism.
Oh, what a sweet one to end on. Who doesn't love a wax eye? Such a beautiful little bird. What's lovely as well is the sense of care. So I can't decide whether this is medical, that there's something, whether he's got bashed wing, or whether it's more scientific, but you certainly got that indication with the bit of paper on the right hand side that there's some notes being going on, so that it's something, and we've got a blue plastic on the hands, which again keeps it very medical, very clinical. But in juxtaposition to that, you've got the sense of care. The hands are very gentle, they're wrapped around. The bird doesn't look frightened. It looks calm, it's nice and sharp. The light is on it, the beautiful colours, you're drawn to it. There's a tiny bit that just underneath the hand, which is a bit bright, which I would probably want to darken down a bit. But otherwise, there's a lovely, lovely light on this bird, and even a wee bit of rim on the back to sort of bring our attention to it. I'd love to know what's going on here, but I don't care. I know that it's being looked after.
Yeah, it tells a wonderful story of, I guess, the survival maybe of the young bird. I like the feathers look a little bit dishevelled in areas, which tells the story too of he's returning to health, I suppose. I think it's just fantastic. I like the piece of paper on the right as well. So it tells more of the story that maybe he'll soon be released back where he belongs. Yeah.
Well, just that wee tiny feather that's sticking up on the top of his head, it gives him a little bit of character as well.
How do you know it's a male bird?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't.
And congratulations to the top 25. And the top 10, we will be announcing the category winners and Photograph of the Year finalists tonight at 5 p.m. And again, thank you so much to Photo Warehouse for sponsoring New Zealand Amateur Photography Awards.
Dunsky.
Thanks, team. Also, they'll all be at home because I'll all be working. So 10:30. Oh, sorry. I made it warm, but I didn't even try it.
Yeah.